Hey there, everybody. Welcome to my very first blog ever. Now, we've seen other people talk on blogs before about movies they've recently seen, stuff that happens through their day, but for this blog, I'm going to treat you to something that has never been seen on YouTube before. This book. Now, I just love the Mad Hatter as a Batman villain. You take this relatively harmless character from a wonderful children's story, a children's story which Bruce Wayne loved as a child, by the way, and then you twist it into something dark and sinister that could be used in so many different ways. That is freaking cool. Then, considering the source material from which the Mad Hatter comes, he can easily be as unpredictable as the Joker, adding an element of chaos to the Batman's controlled world like no other. Oh yeah, and the thing about other books in which the Mad Hatter appears, he's actually featured in them. Take a look at Batman Madness. In that 48-page comic, the Mad Hatter appears in 18 pages. Then you take Batman Through the Looking Glass in all of its 123 pages, and he only shows up in 21. That's right, this book is supposed to be the very first appearance of the Mad Hatter, and he's not even in a fifth of the book. The creative minds behind this book are Bruce Jones and Sam Keith. I don't think I've read anything that Bruce Jones has written, but I do know that Sam Keith is the creator of the Max. But hey, it's an Alice in Wonderland story. Things can be a little bit weird in a book like this, right? A few notes on the cover. For some reason the Batman logo looks like a fish. I guess they must have swiped it from the Hitchhiker's Guide to Gotham. Batman and the Mad Hatter, who looks like a bad Ross Perot caricature, are poised over a narrow catwalk in what looks like a steel mill. Because Wonderland is filled with narrow catwalks and steel mills, right? The inside cover has this interesting bit of insight. Batman is known for using the most unorthodox methods to solve a mystery. Yes, studying criminology and honing your detective skills. Truly unorthodox! But is he willing to follow a long-lost childhood friend into a mystical world that he doesn't believe even exists? Well, considering that this is a guy who casually converses with space aliens, demons, and the offspring of long-forgotten gods, if there's anything that Batman doesn't believe in, it's probably only because he's never heard of it. How will his normal methods of solving a mystery fare in a world that defies logic? And as far as plot points go, that's a pretty good one. Take Batman and make all of his crime-fighting methodologies completely useless, thus forcing him to think outside the box. Alright, I'm intrigued. Let's see where this book takes us. We open to find Batman and Alfred in the Batcave. Batman, holding his head in pain, having apparently just come back from a tea party. Judge Rosalind Hart does not throw tea parties, Alfred. It was a full ow. Since we can only assume this sentence was going to be followed up with the word bar, two questions come to mind. One, this is right after the party. Did Batman just go there in full batsuit? Two, Batman and Bruce Wayne do not drink. What's he doing with a hangover? Batman looks at his newspaper, and on the front page is the story of the alleged murder of Dunfree Tweedle, a prominent politician. I guess he wasn't prominent enough to be called by his actual title, just politician. And because this is an Alice in Wonderland story, what should Batman spot scampering across his desk but a rabbit in a waistcoat? Naturally, his reaction is exactly the same as ours. Either tell me you saw that too, or get me another soda. Actually, looking back, I think it's the soda that's making him see the rabbit in the first place. We see Alfred stirring something into the soda before he drinks it, after all. Alfred, of course, does not see the rabbit. Sarcasm, sir? How delightfully unlike you, Master Bruce. Get used to that, Alfred. There's going to be a lot of Master Bruce not acting like himself in this comic. Before Batman can follow the rabbit down the floor grate, a little girl dressed like Alice just appears out of nowhere. This is apparently Celia, an old childhood friend of Bruce's whom we've never seen or heard of before in any previous Batman comics. Great, this is going to be like Duncan MacLeod's great lost love from Highlander the Source. The following 1.5-page spread is a good spot to talk about the art. It's just weird. And sure, weird art is great in the context of Wonderland, but just look at this! If we could believe the floor for the perspective here, it looks like Batman's lying flat on his back and on top of Celia, but she's still standing perfectly straight in spite of it. Also, the anatomy of these characters is just all over the place, as we'll see in more glaring examples later on. In the last panel, we see she has elbows, but in this one, she doesn't. The art can be weird and stylistic, but a little consistency, please? Anyway, Batman changes gears for being shocked about seeing a little girl he hasn't seen in 20 years, and he's not questioning why she's still a little girl and not grown up, and instead comments on her attire. What's with the weird outfit? My outfit? What about your outfit? I fight crime now. Uh-huh. You know you're in trouble when a little girl is unfazed by your costume that's meant to scare murderers and psychotics. Long story short, Batman decides without hesitation to follow the creepy, smiling little girl down the drain and into Wonderland. Alfred enlists the aid of Robin to retrieve him, and holy crap! Robin, what happened to you? Yes, this over-muscled Russ Tamblyn is apparently Robin, who looks like his nickname should be Robin the Steroid Wonder. Robin is confused about this little girl that Batman thinks he's following, and asks Alfred to tell her story. But before we can see any of that, we're now suddenly in Wonderland. And wow, just look at how wonderful it is. There's, grass, and a couple of trees, and I guess the guy with the top hat and mutton chops is kinda wondrous. It's the park across from Gotham City Hall. Gotham City Hall is right under Wayne Manor. Never know what you'll find at the bottom of a bat cave. Because if there's one thing that Batman is known for, it's sarcasm. They spot the White Rabbit approaching City Hall, where he's apparently becoming more and more human. Isn't that Claude Lapin-Blanc, Judge Hart's assistant? Lapin-Blanc? Little on the nose, isn't it? Alice tries to follow Lapin-Blanc, but the door has been locked, and the world's greatest detective is somehow incapable of seeing the keys still in the lock, complete with a neat little sign that says, "Keys," pointing to them. Downtrodden by his inability to open a door, Batman wonders when this is all going to start making sense, and Celia suggests that he think of the last thing that did make sense to him. We then cut to a flashback as Batman thinks of the party he came back from at the beginning of the story, where he meets Jimmy Cheshire! Wait, I'm sorry, who? Yes, Jimmy Cheshire, a former Blackgate inmate who is now working as Judge Hart's bodyguard. It's a good thing this character was created, too. After all, this is an Alice in Wonderland story, and we do need the Cheshire Cat in the story somewhere, and there just aren't any already established villains who smile creepily that could fill in for him. Wait a minute, is this taking place in the flashback or the present? We see Batman in a primarily yellow Wonderland, while Bruce Wayne is in a red flashback, but now we see Batman in an all-red setting, making it look like he's either back in the flashback at the party in Batsuit for some reason, or maybe Wonderland has crossed over into the Silent Hill dimension. I can only assume we're still in Wonderland, despite the pointless lighting change, since we now see Denham Tweedle, the twin brother of the prominent politician earlier, arrive on the scene. Batman tells him that he's looking for his brother's murderer. Won't find him here. Killed in his office at City Hall. The City Hall bathtub. Right. Another case of yellow journalism. Found him in his office, slumped over in his desk. So then why was he photographed in the bathtub surrounded by police tape? What, did Gotham PD not think that the actual crime scene was shocking enough? Batman and Celia leave wherever they just were, and Celia thinks Batman needs more clues. So they go to a tree with kidneys growing out of it, where they continue to look awkwardly drawn. Batman breaks one of the kidneys open and finds a small piece of paper inside. Cauliflower catacomb deep beneath the Gotham gnome. One is dead, 4 others scorned. Tip your hat to anger born. Your lucky numbers are 8, 9, 15, 32, 88, 37. Back in reality, Robin decides to chase after Batman, convinced that he's too bonkers to come back on his own. You know, with all the years that Batman's been poisoned with deadly hallucinogens throughout the years, I would have thought by this point he'd figured out that the best thing that he can do is to stay put. I mean, especially in a place like the Batcave, where he can easily mistake a power generator for the stairs leading up to the Batcave. Okay, Alfred, I'm gonna be going up to bed now. As Robin searches for Batman, he comes across a small hole with a sign that says, "Right this way," above it. And because Robin was trained by the world's greatest detective, he doesn't deduce that the hole is far too small to even consider the idea that maybe Batman went down there, nor does he question how that sign got there in the first place, but instead he just says, "Subtle." He crawls in, and falls with the weirdest sound effect balloon I've ever seen. Back to Batman and Celia, who walk from an open field into a sewer with absolutely no transition whatsoever. You know, Wonderland is supposed to be a giant pile of what the hell, but there has to be some logical way of getting from A to B. In the Disney movie, Alice makes it to the Queen's castle by walking through a tree. Yeah, it's nonsensical, but at least it's something. Oh yeah, and she actually reacts to it. Batman is completely unmoved by how he apparently just teleported from a field somewhere into a freaking sewer. This is even more jarring than getting hit by a train. Anyway, they come to a fork in the road where they can apparently go to underground parking, because Wonderland has cars, I guess, City Hall, or, the Riddler? Celia suggests they take this route because they need the right questions, but Batman wants to go to City Hall for answers. We can't go both ways. Why not? Just go in, look around for a bit, see what you can find, and if you can't find anything, just turn around, go back the way you came, and then look in the next route. Certainly works in every video game that you've ever been in. But Celia splits herself down the middle, creating two Celias, and they run off in two different tubes. So, this is a land where cakes can make you grow, and drinks can make you shrink. I wonder what you would have to take to reproduce asexually like that. A suppository? And from the layout of the last panel, it looks like one Celia is going down the tube with the question marks, and the other one is going to City Hall. But knowing this comic and its penchant for making up crap as it goes along, I'm pretty sure that one Celia just went to Morgan Fairchild's house, and the other went to the color purple. Suddenly, Robin falls in from above, this time with a splug instead of a Scott. Robin asks Batman if he's fine, and Batman proceeds to backhand him flat on his ass. Great, this is the Frank Miller-verse Batman. I'm surprised Batman hasn't called Celia retarded by now. Batman runs after Celia, who is now running down a hallway instead of a sewer tube, and suddenly we're outside again, and now we're in some other brownish, grayish place with trees, and what? I could say that this series of panels is so confusing that they're completely meaningless, but they are reminding me that I could be playing Arkham Asylum right now, so I guess that's something. Batman points out the phrase, "anger born," from his earlier clue as if it has some kind of significance, when the White Rabbit dashes by again. And you know what? I can't even tell if this is the same rabbit that we saw running through the Batcave before, or if this is that Lampin Blanc guy turning into a more rabbit-like form. This doesn't make any sense. But thanks to a little caption that couldn't be substituted with more coherent artwork, I can tell that down he goes. Batman notices some mushrooms on the ground, and is reminded of how they were serving steak with mushrooms at the party. "Would you mind trading steaks, old man? I deplore mushrooms." Then why did you order it with mushrooms in the first place? If Bruce can have steak without mushrooms, then why can't you? Batman chases Celia through the mushroom patch, and then runs into a hideously malformed Mad Hatter sitting in the place of the caterpillar. Why? And of course, Batman has the exact same expression as the reader. This time not one of confusion, but one of abject weariness. And with the end of Chapter 1 here, I'm just gonna stop, because it's only going downhill from here, and the first chapter is just awful. The story doesn't make any sense, as you would find out if you actually sat through this entire thing, which I will not subject you to. The artwork actually hurts to look at in some places, and the characters are just all wrong. This isn't the world's greatest detective, this is some guy who's going through his first acid trip. And Celia? Where did she come from? What is she doing here? Of all the things for Batman to be haunted by in his terribly scarred psyche, this is the thing that haunts him while he's on a mushroom trip? Really? There's so many other ways that you could write Batman into a Wonderland story. Hell, look at what the animated series did.
You're mighty in Gotham, Batman, but in Wonderland, the Mad Hatter reigns supreme. I'll cut that cowl off your neck before you'll take her. I've waited my whole lonely life for her. It didn't have to be this way. You made me do this to her.
not, would not, could not. Oh, could not join the dance.
And that was great! That's a great way to introduce people who have never heard of the Mad Hatter before. But this is just bad on every level imaginable. But you know what? It is just a really good thing that I happened to pick up a much better book when I got this one. And if you'll excuse me, I could do with a little bit of therapy right now.
Yo, what's up? I'm the Mad Hatter. I'll pour you tea, please don't let it splatter. And don't be late for your very important date. My funny bunny friend is twitching cause he just can't wait for a tea party with you and me. Girl, this ain't no Starbucks drive-thru, you see. Falling down that rabbit hole, you must have hit your head. You think you are dreaming, but you in Wonderland instead. Whether you're big or whether you're small, I'll hat your head with green, yellow, and red, or you could have them all. You could wear a sombrero, or a hat like a pirate, and me Jack Sparrow. See, it doesn't really matter when you're the Mad Hatter. No, it doesn't really matter, cause I'm the Mad Hatter.